And there you go, Councilor Trumbull.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Finance Committee. It's February 5th at 6:44, and the members of the committee present are Councilor Trumbull, we have Councilor Fournier, I think Councilor Yakobagas on finance,
Yeah,
and
I-
Councilor
yeah.
Paz and Councilor Fish. Is
I'm
that
not
right?
on it.
Not Councilor, you're on finance, right? And we also have Councilor Hawes and Councilor Pelletier. And the first items are bids and purchasing, Dave. And Finance Director, Dave. Little.
Our first item is a vehicle for the fire department. This is a supervisor's vehicle. As you know, we've been having issues with dealerships not wanting to go through the RFP process, and they won't hold the price when a vehicle is ordered, and it could take up to 6 months if we're lucky for a vehicle to arrive. We've been calling around to dealerships to see if they have something in stock that meets our needs. Staff reached out to several dealerships and found a 2003 Ford F-150 responder pickup from McGovern Auto for $49,707. And this is under the budgeted amount of $60,000 that we had planned on the replacement vehicle. So we'd like permission to go ahead and move forward, purchase that vehicle. It will replace a 2015 GMC Suburban, which will in turn replace a 2009 Suburban, which we will dispose of.
Is this a new 2023 or used one?
This is a new 2023.
I've heard of the other bidders. I've never, where's McGovern? Auto?
McGovern is out of states, New Hampshire, Massachusetts.
Okay, so there's no issue with the warranty or anything?
No, I don't think we'll have any issues, and it's on the lot. The other two had issues delivering a vehicle or a wait time, so it seemed like the best option, and it was significantly under budget, so we're comfortable with the purchase.
Okay, just, just a quick question. So what, you said, what was it in between the next one was Darling's Ford, at like $900 more? Is that the
Yes, the
same
next one is
vehicle?
Darling's. The Darling's is gonna take 4 to 6 months to
Oh,
deliver
okay.
the vehicle
All right,
versus drive off the lot.
okay. And we're in dire need of it right away? Okay.
Make a motion.
Second, all right, without objection, that has it moved.
Oh, yeah.
Good job.
Thanks.
The next item is for the Kenduskeag Extreme retaining wall. This is between Central Street and State Street. The wall is starting to shift, and some of the blocks are starting to move and become dislodged. And so the engineering department reached out for proposals for engineering services related to this project. And they received back a response from Dubois King for $79,565. They believe, the engineering department believes the fee is in line with what would be required for this project. And we've used them before, we're very happy with them. So they're recommending that we move forward with Dubois King for $79,565 for the design services to start getting that retaining wall repaired.
Question. So is this on the part of the retaining wall that along the walkway, the Hamlin walkway, just the interior part? The parts on the exterior, the responsibility of the property owners, or is this, we're just talking the retaining wall on the which retaining wall are we talking about?
We are talking the interior retaining wall.
Okay, so the outside retaining wall is the property owner's responsibility?
I think that's a little gray. I think part of this, project that we're gonna have Dubois King look at is do a little research into the titles and everything to see, who's really responsible.
Right.
We know the piece that's moving, so that's
Yeah,
main
we know
focus,
that's ours.
but we'll see what happens as we move on.
All right. Thank you. Is there a
Motion.
motion, a second? Not a Council Pelletier?
It's not an objection, it's more of a question
Right.
about sort of the long-term plan for Kenduskeag Extreme, and maybe it's not at this meeting, but just thinking about the frequency of the storms that are causing the flooding downtown. What is the city thinking about in terms of long-term plans to either shore up our
Wow, I think that's
infrastructure
a
or?
little bit of a part of this proposal as well, is to get some ideas of what we're gonna do for the other locations of this wall that are, eventually they're gonna probably have the same issue, and so what's gonna be, what we're allowed to do, it's a historical property, and then what you know, what are the options for stabilizing this wall, whether it's, okay, you gotta build it back the way it was built originally. I mean, it did last 100 years, so that's probably pretty good construction, but is that gonna be the most, you know, economical and, you know, have the longest life? So, that's gonna be a piece of this work, is to kind of make recommendations for moving forward on different locations of the wall as well.
Okay, thank you.
So I have kind of related question to that. So it has been 100 years.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So, but it's still the storms, the flooding that happened, it contributed in a way to the shifting, I
Well-
assume, in a way.
I don't think so. I
You
mean,
don't
the
think so?
blocks are on
Okay.
the ones that are dislodged right now are on the lower stream elevation. And, I mean, let's remember it's tidal. So this thing fluctuates 14 feet from, in the summertime, it can be a trickle, you know, at one time during the day, and then it's, you know, 12, 14 feet high. So, I think this has, you know, I'm sure, you know, the storms have something to do with it, but, you know,
It's,
this sees a lot of action,
yeah.
you know, regardless.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah, and they've been moving for a while. It's not like it's just been the last couple of years when the storms increased. It's been shifting for years.
Well, you know, we got over 100 years out of it, so that's pretty
Yeah.
good for anything. If we could get 100 years out of most construction, we'd be doing quite well.
Yeah.
Amazing what freezing and melting water can do.
Right.
Mhm. Okay.
We good?
Yeah, without objection, as approval. Thank you.
So our next item is pre-approved architectural plans. This is in relation to the council's focus on housing. This was discussed during the budget process. So we went out for a request for qualifications. So the bid was looking to focus more on the ability of the firm, not necessarily the price of the items being proposed. And what we're looking for is to find low-cost, efficient plan designs that will meet life safety energy codes, as well as fit into the neighborhood so that, you know, it kind of looks seamless as new construction is being built. In an attempt to remove at least one barrier for new homeowners or contractors to come in and build new housing, and have plans that are already pre-approved, and it takes at least one step out of the process for them. There was 5 responses that were reviewed by engineering, code, and planning department. After their reviews, they believe that the best firm to go with is Gowron Turgeon Architects. Their bid was $182,400, which is above the $100,000 that had been budgeted for this process. So with approval to move forward with them, staff would negotiate how many plans we could get for the $100,000 and stay within the budget. So the staff recommendation is to move forward with that company and negotiate with them to see how many plans we could get for the $100,000.
Questions on this, Council Fournier?
I'm fine with this. I was just gonna probably mention maybe depending on the negotiations on the price, maybe we could use some ARPA funds to help stay within, I won't say stay within the budget, but to help with the financing of that.
Council Pelletier?
At one point, there was discussion about pre-approved plans for ADUs. Is that part of this proposed package, or is that separate?
Yes.
It is. Okay, thank you.
Other questions or a motion for staff recommendation?
Motion.
Yeah, second, okay. Without objection, that has approval.
Thank you. Our next item is for short-term rental monitoring and compliance. So the council passed regulations on short-term rentals last October. Part of that included a 6-month grace period for existing operators to come into compliance, as well as the city have time to contract with a company to help monitor and maintain compliance going forward. So we did put out a bid. We received 4 proposals. They range from $5,800 to just over $28,000. That was reviewed by staff, and staff's recommendation is to go with Deckard Technologies and for $15,375 per year. While they were not the lowest bid, they seem to provide the best number of options for portals and online monitoring, online sign up for the rental owners. And a 99.9% verification rate for the addresses, which will help cut down. A lot of the staff time right now is verifying addresses and doing a lot of monitoring on our own. They had the best rate for that, so out of the issues that was taking up a lot of staff time, they seem to be able to cover all of, or the bulk of those things. They also had a 24/7 staffed hotline for any complaints. So staff felt that they were the best, sort of the best bang for our buck. And with the fees that was anticipated for the permits for the short-term rentals, it should cover the cost of the 15,000 on an annual basis without needing to raise those fees. So we should be able to absorb that right in. So staff's recommendation is to move forward with Decker Technologies for 15,375 per year.
Counselor Ford,
Just gonna make a motion.
second.
Second.
Well, any objection, Counselor Pelletier?
Just a question as to whether this, as we move toward the rental registry, if this use of this software could expand to meet that, if it could all be one system, or are we gonna have to get different software for that?
I believe that the plan is to use this software to encompass everything related to short-term rentals.
Great.
And
Counselor Yakubaga.
when do you expect this to take place, like? to
We
start?
should have this in place before the May 3rd deadline, which was the end of the grace period. So they also had a very good response of getting the software up and running, trained staff, so we should be up and running before May 3rd.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
It's moved and seconded without any objection. This item has approval.
Okay, our last bid item is a loader with a plow and a wing. We did go out to bid. We received 3 responses. The lowest bid was United Construction Forestry for a front end loader with a plow and a wing. It was $309,900. However, we do a life cycle costing, which wherever we buy a piece of equipment, especially a large one like this, there's a guaranteed buyback. So at the end of a 5-life period, there's a guaranteed buyback of 150, which nets the life cycle of this vehicle to be 159,900. We do have a vehicle that we will be trading in or returning to them that is at the end of its life cycle right now, because the 309 is above what we budgeted of 220. But the 95,000 that we're receiving for the guaranteed buyback of the vehicle that this will be replacing will bring the cost down to 214,900, which is now under budget. So we sort of shift in the trade-ins and the buybacks in order to do this. It's worked out very well for us. With approval tonight to go forth with United Construction and Forestry to purchase this loader, it will be on full council next week. Because even though the net cost is under the new limit, the base price that we would pay at 309 is above it. So we go to council just for final approval.
Any questions or a motion?
Question, I'm just not familiar with United Construction. Is that a name change?
Yes, that is a name change, but I don't know who they were before.
It's John Deere.
John,
Yeah, sorry.
all right, I'm good, I'll make that motion.
Moved and
Second.
seconded. We think they're building a new facility out there, I think.
Yeah,
Okay. Without objection, that will be recommended to council.
Thank you very much. And our next item is an update from our city assessor. So I'm gonna invite Phil up. I'm just gonna ban.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me. So this is an update on the work in progress that we've made so far. And this update is pretty much set. For what I tell you tonight, this is usually the update that you get in June. So you have it much earlier this year to just inform you on what's changing as far as assessments in the city. And, if we could get the work done sooner, do so and then share it with the council and the finance committee. So I think the first thing that we look at just is, why are we doing this? So we take the 2023 values and then we want to equalize the values across the city. And we come to some level of assessment. And this year we're going to be at about 94%. So if we take the 2023 values, adjusted to the common level, and that will be the overall impact. And if we just,
So is the 94%, is that like the state minimum or
so the state minimum is 70%
70?
and the maximum is 110.
Thank you.
Yes. So I think if we look at the bottom of the first page, we just see the impact of the change from 2022 to 2023, and these are just 3-month periods. So just looking at from April to June, from 2022 to 2023, the median sale price went up 20%. In that previous 3-month period, it went up 26%. So quite a significant change in the city, just in the median sale price. And that's what we're going to really attempt to try to pick up some of the difference in the assessments to the sale prices. And we use the median ratio as our standard. So if we had 5 sales and we knew the assessments and the ratios, then it'd be that middle third ratio that would be the median, would be right in the middle. Half would be above it, half would be below it. So we don't adjust to extremes, we just to that median value. And then when we break it out into different classes of segmented properties, we generally look at single family, then we look at the single residence, condo or PUD, then small multifamily, and then commercial, industrial, large apartments, and then mobile homes. And when we did our analysis this year, all of those classes, all 5 were below 88%. So then we were going to adjust from those up to 94. And for your information, that would change the overall value of the city. So those market-based adjustments would add just about 350 million to the overall value of the city. New construction would add just 18 million. That's a little bit lower than last year, I think, but we still have a little bit of new construction in process. And of that 18 million, about 2.7 million would be redevelopment of downtown properties that just happen to be in the downtown TIF district. And then in June, I will give you the summary, the final summary, and then also a breakdown of the number of dwelling units that our records show that have come over the last year. So then the next page, page 3, we just have those ratios. So if we look at the top one, the single residence started at 83%, and we're looking at to achieve 94%. So what do we see as a general increase? It's about 12.8% to adjust it up. Condos, it would need about 13%, multifamily, just about 8%, commercial about 11%, and then mobile homes, if we really want to get to 94, we're starting at 71% ratio. That would be a 32% change, but the adjustment overall is to 94. And really, how do we do that? We do that in 2 steps. The first step is to consider across the board adjustments, and we make those to both commercial properties and residential properties. So on the commercial side, the median valuation change will be about 9%. And then the average change is about 12% overall. And then on the residential side on page 4, we just see that our across the board adjustments, single family was up 11, condos 12, multifamily 11. And they were adjusted. But when we make an adjustment, any particular property may not exactly change by that percentage, but just due to their different components. So then we've made that adjustment to the values up. Now we recalculate all those sale studies because now we have to look at it by neighborhood. Because some neighborhoods are still low. And this year, we've made those changes and we have about 40 neighborhoods and about 3,800 properties that will see just a neighborhood adjustment on top of the across the board adjustment. And then further, we have a couple pages that kind of identify the neighborhoods, their specific change and the number of properties impacted, so that when I put this on the city's webpage, under the assessor side, people will be able to go to that list. I could have done a better job, but it's just a little bit further.
Okay, I was like, where in the heck is that list?
Yeah, this is a few pages
Okay.
further down. But what I've given you is just a neighborhood study. So this is actually the neighborhood that probably had to change the most in the city. And it happened to be a condominium neighborhood off of Hussanak. So in 2023, we had 3 sales. And the assessment was only on average 62% of the sale prices. Now, I told you just a little bit ago, we were going to adjust the condo PUD type properties up 12%. Well, if we did that, we would get a ratio maybe 62 up to about 70. But we still have this common level of 94 that we have to try to hit that target level. And this is just a ratio study analysis. The top 3 sales, which are shown the sale price, the proposed valuation, and the revised ratio. So one was 82, one was 88, and one was 93. So for those 3, we didn't quite get to 94, but this is already about a 37% neighborhood adjustment, which was quite significant. But that's kind of the process that we use throughout the city to do our analysis. And then the page.
37% neighborhood adjustment is on top of the 12% adjustment.
It is.
Right. So,
Yeah.
okay, right. It's a 49% adjustment to these properties.
It ranges from. Right, 37 is the average.
Correct. Plus
Yep.
12, there's 49.
Yes. And that's just the hard part of the equalization, is to say that we have the sales to give good market evidence. There are only 25 properties in the neighborhood. We did go a little bit further on that one and look back at 2021 sales and adjusted those up for time. But we feel pretty comfortable with it. It's a hard pill to swallow, but
So Phil, the plan is to have these in place by April 1st of this year?
yes.
Okay, and what's the timeline on the, I know we approved the firm for the reval, what's the timeline, when's that start, and when, are those gonna be in place for April 1, 2026?
Yes,
So 2 more years.
correct, 2 more years.
Okay.
Yep.
Council Fish?
So we're having this assessment to bring us more in line with where we're supposed to be, but then there's going to be another assessment after we have.
Well, this process he's doing, this is every year, so this is ongoing. It'll be even
Correct.
after the revow, they'll do that.
Right, we just finished the contract for the revaluation.
Okay.
So a private company will come in and they'll do inspection and review of all the properties in the city. It'll take just over 2 years,
Okay.
and they will give us final values mid-June of 2026 for that year.
So, excuse me, I'm just trying to catch up, so I have a couple of questions. If you could with me and be patient, please. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep.
So the difference that we're seeing today, is this consistent? If you do this every year, is this pretty consistent with what you've seen last year from the year before? And likewise, it's pretty consistent?
Yes, last year we only adjusted the 91%, thinking that 7-8% interest rates would calm the market. And you would think that you wouldn't pay the same amount at that 2.8% versus 7. So I didn't adjust up to 95 last year, 94, 95, just to 91. But the market powered through that
Yeah,
increase in interest rates and still grew at
okay, thank you.
amazing rates. And the benefit of the taxpayer would be still, if the incremental adjustments are made, the shock of any revaluation will be much less. Because the delta between the current assessment and what they will finally arrive at is probably as limited as possible.
Understood, thank you.
Yep, you can scroll ahead, please.
Yes, sir.
This page just gives us what the median change was for commercial, mobile home parks and single family. We see that the median change for commercial was 8.7%, mobile home parks 25%. So we knew that we needed to get to from a ratio of 71 up. And then single 1 to 4 family homes about 9.8%. But we still have a few properties that are going to be higher because of the neighborhood adjustments. This sheet is the first one that shows the neighborhood code in our system, a description of the neighborhood or property area, the percentage change, the median percentage change, and then the number of properties impacted. And again, the first one is Morningside. It went up the most on the neighborhood side. And then the number of properties was 20-some. So that's available to the public. They will be able to see that.
So the mobile homes at the median of the 25.4%,
Yes,
that includes both pieces?
so,
Or is that just the average of the neighborhood adjustment?
so they only got a neighborhood adjustment,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it isn't the 12 and the 30.
not for mobile homes.
Okay.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
okay,
They range from 20 to 27.
okay.
Are most mobile home still falling under the home where they aren't really paying any taxes anyway?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Unless it's a modern single wide or double wide.
Mhm.
They're, 30,000 and below.
Yeah.
Generally. So they still benefit handsomely from the homestead exemption. That's 25,000.
So this is the median increase, base increase, and then on top of this, if they're also subject to a neighborhood adjustment, the neighborhood adjustment gets added onto this,
No,
correct?
this is an overall.
This
is an
includes the
overall-
neighborhood too.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So I think the interesting to see here this year, is if you remember last year, we had a pretty significant shift where, the increase in median values were substantially higher for our residential neighborhoods
Mhm.
than our commercial industrial property. So we saw quite a bit of a, if you will, a tax shift out of our commercial side. And this year, they're much closer where the commercial and industrial properties are 8.7. And our residential, single family and 4 families is at 9.8, so. Am I done?
What? No,
What are we doing?
go forward.
Yeah.
Keep going. So this year, we already have the maps laid out, so if you're a residential type property, you can see, in the city, what the general range is, the median change, depending upon the color. In this example, greater than 25% is the really dark green, and if you look at the inset right in the center, neighborhood 69, that's just where along Hudson Avenue, that Morningside project is located. But each neighborhood is gonna be adjusted, based upon the sales, and then the next map shows if you're a commercial property, in those, neighborhoods, what the change is. And we look in the inset map, we've got, a multifamily neighborhood that's, the long vertical line would be, Center Street, leading from downtown out to Broadway. And then, by Jefferson Street, going over to Kenduskeag Avenue, so there's some multifamily that needed to be adjusted, and a little bit on outer Broadway, that needed to be adjusted, but we could see that most of them were probably, in the 10% range. For commercial, if it's in the same neighborhood. Yep. On the next page.
You just go to your highlight.
Yeah.
I'm watching it.
Keep going.
Oh, I didn't know, but I know.
And then we just have the personal property update. We got all the declarations out. And we have about 2,100 accounts that will come back over the next 3 months, and we will process those. And oh, can we go back?
See?
Oh, sorry. Yep, go back to page 5. And so the one check that we make is that because we know we use a year's worth of sales, then the final check is we just look at the sales in October 2023 to December 2023, so outside of our year of study. And then we say, okay, we know what the proposed assessment for the upcoming year is. We know the number of sales. So where did we end up with this 3-month period? So single family, those sales came in, even with the adjusted values, the median ratio was 86%. So we were hoping for 94, but the market still went up. Multifamily condos were about 94%. Multi-residents ended up at 85. Commercial industrial sales 96, and then mobile homes we did get up to 87. So we have 3 that are still below 94, but we tried to stay consistent and say this is our year of study. We adjusted to that 1 year, but clearly the adjustments were necessary. No change in the market had occurred to make them not necessary. And then at the very end is you have all the segregated studies, so by every type of property. You folks aren't necessarily so interested in that group, but basically we have the statistics from the study before and the study after. Then that just reports it to the public to have some idea of what's changing by the property types. And that's.
Questions? Council Leonard.
I was just gonna say it was really shocking to read 25.4% increase in the mobile homes. I was happy to hear that. I thought the 12% was also going to factor in. My first thought goes to any type of mitigation of gentrification whatsoever. I don't really like to see any sort of pushing out of like residents here in the area that are natural as we start to have more people coming into Bangor as a whole. So I know we can't necessarily adjust what our assessment is, that's just the fact of reality, but I think we should respond in some way with any type of programs that can assist people that might struggle with these rate increases, especially with those that are on the poverty spectrum as well. So that's my only comment that I want to, that's my most major comment I want to say regarding this, but I'm sure I'll more to say at April. Thank you though.
Any comments or questions? Thank you very much, Phil. Very early this year, so it's good to have this. Last time, Dave, was the revolving loan fund for school department discussion.
I'm gonna invite Jerry up.
Yeah.
And our superintendent, Jerry Hammond's coming. He's the Director of Business Services. I'll do a quick rundown, but there may be questions. I'll defer. And this is a update for the council. The school department, in October, filed, some applications for the school revolving renovation fund. And we've talked about this at prior council meetings for, some of you may remember. These are, loans that we can, get at 0% interest. So it's good loans to get and a chance to make some significant repairs and renovations to our schools. They modified the fund. Originally, there was a limit of $1 million that you could get per project. That has now been changed to $2 million. So some of these applications are reapplying for the additional $1 million for some of the projects that weren't fully covered. So there's seven schools that we're looking at doing some work to. Bangor High and 14th Street School are exterior walls that are failing, to get those repaired for code violations and structural safety. There's the William Cohen School, the James Dowdy School is to do air quality improvements. And then the Dowdy School, the Fairmount School, the Dowdy, Fairmount, Mary Snow, and Down East School are looking at some type of roofing repair, either on the school itself or the heating plant for the Fairmount School. In total, out of the 7 projects, it's just over 6.5 million. Again, it doesn't cover the cost of most of these projects in total. So there may be additional bonding that is needed, but these applications are, again, repayment is straight line, 10 years, 0% interest, which is pretty good. They have filed the applications. We have not heard back yet whether or not we actually will qualify or receive any. When that happens, it'll come back to the council for approval to accept and appropriate the money. But I wanted to give you an update as to what they are looking at doing and where we can get some funding to do some of these repairs. And any questions? I'll defer.
So these were projects that were on the capital plan and just moving it on the no interest to get this moving, and then
Yes,
that's the plan.
I can't get better money than,
Right.
the revolving loan fund.
Council Pelletier.
My question is just what is the impact to the taxpayer over the next 10 years?
So I want to give you an update. It landed on my desk today.
Okay,
I have the scores. Out of the 7 projects, we were awarded 4 of them. So we, for a total of $4,127,000. Out of that, the forgiveness rate is currently at 57%, meaning $2,354,000 is forgiven. And the piece that will have to be paid back would be $1,772,000.
Over how long?
10 year straight
over
on,
10 years,
0%.
175 per year, so that's,
So like a dime on the mill rate.
oh no, 3.
The nickel.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's a nickel.
It's about a nickel.
Yeah.
The nickel's about 180,000.
If they don't retire, some sort of debt.
Yeah.
Council Hawes.
These always sound like they're really, really expensive and extravagant, but 4 of the 7, that's good. And this is the kind of project that has allowed us to keep our schools where they are.
It's true.
Right, you're not gonna be able to build a new school
No.
for $1 million.
You'd have to be on the list at least that long.
And we're currently looking into doing just that. So the four that were successful were both the Bangor High and the 14th Street exterior replacements. They had a design that's lovingly called a curtain wall that's not really designed for Maine. In fact, we had to do some emergency repairs at Bangor High last year because it's kind of bolted to the clipped to the side of the building, and clips broke, and you could look down to the next floor, and the whole wall can be moved out a foot. So it's not your traditional stud and insulation, so it's not very energy efficient as well. So for a long time, we've wanted to do that at Bangor High, and that's almost 1,300 feet of wall. So I have a map on the application. It goes from one end of the school to the other. The 14th Street School, same idea, and it will replace a little over 500 linear feet of wall, almost all the exterior wall in that school. So that's really good for us. Going back to Bangor, I will be returning soon after I discuss this with the school committee, because to accomplish the Bangor High project, it's going to require some additional bonding to do the complete project. This project is estimated at $2,655,000. So it was nice we received $1 million from this revolving loan fund. So I'll be looking for additional bonding I'll run it, of course, by the school committee, and then I'll, if I'm successful, come to you for the proposal. So the 14th Street School, the award was enough to do the complete project. So that's good. The other ones that were successful was the Fairmount roof, and it's the part of the roof that's over the heating plant only. It's not the whole school. It's a lot of deterioration and cracking and rotting. We need to shore that up and ensure that we don't have something cave in on our heating plant. So between a small piece on the revolving loan funds from about a year ago to this one, we have a total of $1,529,000. And add the last one, brings it up to $1,775,000. So we're within $59,000 of the total project. So that's really good news on the Fairmount School. And the last one, the Mary Snow School. A lot of you are familiar with the repairs we did over the last year plus to the exterior of the building. We had compromised brick facade, some of it caving in. That was just unacceptable. Water had gotten behind and deteriorated the brick and the integrity of it. And we had to get a company to come in, and they went around the complete building, and Mary Snow was built with like 5 or 6 brick thick walls. That is what holds up the floors and the ceiling. It's not your traditional steel infrastructure. So they had to go in until they found good mortar and then build it back out. So we spent a good deal of money on that, but it was completed not too long ago, and it's been sealed, so it should last. And we did the flashing on the roof, but now we need to shore up the roof, the last piece, to sort of make sure that that doesn't happen again. So that roof will be enforced with some steel to make sure it can withstand the loads of the up to code for the snow, etc. And we got a small piece from the last revolving loan funds. We just received $1 million with this one. So we'll also have to, have a piece to bond to finish that project. I can't do half a roof, so, but, it's a 22,000 square foot roof. So we'll be doing that. So those are the 4 projects that were successful, the 3 that weren't. I tried to double down on prior success with the revolving loan funds. And the last time we were doing indoor air quality projects that are quite expensive, and I was trying to stretch my COVID dollars with revolving fund loan dollars and trying to do as much as possible and avoid any need to do some bonding. So we, the scores are good, but just weren't good enough on the cutoff. We missed it by a few points. So 4 out of 7 is very good, and the forgiveness is excellent. I'm quite pleased with that. And like I said, I'll be returning soon to you to go over our potential need for bonding on 2 of these projects. And probably we're having some issues with our William Cohen roof due to a little bit due to the storm, but more towards the age of the roof itself. So we're going to be replacing a large section of 1991 roof with something that doesn't leak. So.
And just add to what Councilor Haas said, I mean, St. Mary's Snow School is well over 100 years old, and the newest school, which, I don't think, and no work's being done to Abraham Lincoln's now 50 years old, and high school 60 years old, so we've got, some old buildings, but they're, I mean, you go in high school, it's hard to believe that's a 60-year-old building, it's in great, all the schools are in great condition. So, any other questions or comments? Right. Thank you. Do we need to take any action on this?
Nope, this was just an update at this point.
Thank you all. Nice. So, anything else tonight, Dan?
I got one quick update. At a previous meeting, we brought forth the lubricant contract to the fleet department. We had split that between 2 companies. One of them was Irving. It was only 15,000 was their share. Normally that wouldn't have to come, but it was combined with another piece. Irving wanted to renegotiate prices every 90 days, which was not what we proposed. We proposed every year. They did not want to modify that, so they backed out. So we went ahead and contracted with the second lowest bidder, which was Brenntag. Very happy with them. Price was only minimal difference, so we move forward and sign the contract with Brenntag. Just to let you know.
Yeah. Do we need to take any action?
No, we didn't. It's below what you would normally.
Okay.
do, but-
Okay, thank you.
Dan, did you